everybody struggles.
Welcome, world, to Everybody Struggles. We got a super dope guest. It's my guy, Mike Browning. What's going on, brother?
Pleasure to be here. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's crazy. It's a blur on how long we've known each other because of the nights that we've had.
Yeah, a lot of things can be a blur with those nights. It's at least, 8 years, 9?
Yeah, it's crazy. You're actually one of the few people that was trying to convince me before I even decided to move to LA.
That's right.
So I've been here now, 3.5 years, so I appreciate it.
Yes.
But the cool thing about Mike is he's a hooper,
Yes,
athlete, Knicks fan, unfortunately.
I am a Knicks fan.
But the dope thing about him, he's an actor and a comedian. He does a lot of skits on, social media.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I know a lot about you. Tell the world a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you're currently working on.
You hit it on the head. I'm originally from New York. I'm from Queens. Queens get the money. And I played basketball at SUNY Purchase, and moved out to LA 7 years ago to pursue acting and comedy. And I'm an econ major, and I have a finance background. So, those are two of my specialties. And, I'm glad that you made the move to LA. I think I knew it was always going to happen. And, happy that we're making this show happen. I know you've been talking about it, and I was excited the first time you brought it up to me. So happy to be a part of it, man.
Man, and I appreciate the growth because, we did start doing some stuff like a year and a half, 2 years ago.
That's right.
A lot's changed since then for the both of us.
For the world, right? It was a crazy year for everyone, man.
Tell us a little bit about, growing up in New York and, how it was, making the transition.
Yeah, man, I'm from Jamaica, Queens, Cambria Heights specifically. And it's Southeast Queens is a little more socioeconomically downtrodden than the rest of the borough. I grew up around a lot of Caribbean families, diverse, diverse ethnicities, but mostly black people. I am also the son of an immigrant. My mother is Panamanian and came here in the 80s, and then my dad, who is white, so I'm biracial as well. And growing up in Queens was great. I loved my neighborhood. I think I didn't realize I lived in the hood, so to speak, till later in life. I have family in Brooklyn, and I always thought they live in apartment buildings. So we have a house, so we must live somewhere good. But I learned quickly that's not the case. And Queens, taught me a lot of things, but I think it made me the person I am, and I wouldn't change that for anything. Very proud to be from New York.
Man, that's beautiful. So now I want to ask you, what's the hardest thing you've ever dealt with in your life?
Man, I think growing up poor was probably a big struggle early in life that I dealt with. Realizing early in life, maybe around middle school, that there are the haves and have-nots, and kind of realizing that you're the have-not is a reckoning in a young person's life. Realizing that your mother's working 2 jobs, and I also grew up in a single family house that taught me a lot about what it takes to have material things. So I think that was something early in life I kind of realized that if I want anything in this world, I'm going to have to work really hard, and it's not going to be given to me. I learned that directly from my mother, how hard she worked. And I grew up with 3 sisters, so 4 of us. And to raise 4 kids by yourself, you're gonna work your ass off. And I think it wasn't necessarily not having material things that taught me that you're gonna have to work hard. It was like not having food, not having clothes. I think not till I was able to make my own money in high school, which was early. I think I got my first job at 14. Did I realize that it's so much more worth it when you do work for things, and you appreciate things a lot better, and you take care of them in a different way than if they're handed to you. So Yeah, that's I think one of the things that was an early struggle in my life that led me to finance, and it's a big reason why I majored in economics. But you know,
So what led you to like learn how to live and understand and get over that hump? Because it led you to finance, but what did you do to get there?
yeah, man, I think I majored in econ while I was playing basketball, and I always had a passion for acting, but I figured as a young adult that this was a more stable career and this would be something that financially would be more stable. And honestly, my mother wouldn't hear anything other than doctor, lawyer, engineer.
That's the Caribbean factor.
Yeah, immigrant parents are like that. And I think that was a lot of the reason why I went down that path. But after school, I kind of realized it wasn't my actual passion. After working in a brokerage firm for a couple years, I kind of realized that chasing money isn't necessarily going to fulfill me the same way chasing a passion like comedy, like acting, fulfills me.
Right.
And I think the first time I came to LA, I was infatuated with such a diverse big city like New York, but so different, so much more arts-based driven. And New York is hustle and bustle. It's a fast-paced city. Whereas LA is a little more slower, and I think the arts inspired me when I first moved out here to pursue that and be out here among other artists and creators, and kind of feeding off that energy was enticing. So that was spring break, and I think that might have been around the time we met. So I kind of always knew that this would be a city for me, and eventually I moved maybe 3 years after that. And I was still in finance. I was working at a firm out in Culver City, but I started taking acting classes with Jairus, our boy.
Dupree.
And that was the first time I took an acting class since high school. I was in musicals and school plays and things of that nature, but it really opened a lot of things inside of me. So I transitioned out of the firm later, and I got a restaurant job and started auditioning more. I took a class at Groundlings. And I find that this is a new chapter in my life that comes with a lot of growing pains. But I have learned a lot from the past chapters, and I use those things. I think they serve me well. Understanding how to build a book of business and finance translates to building contacts and acting, and pursuing an agent or pursuing a job. You're gonna have to have that same focus, right? You're gonna have to wake up and understand, like, these are my tasks for the day. The way I would in the office is now solely for me. And I totally enjoy working for me and not working for somebody else. And I think I feel happier about the path that I'm on and less motivated by money, which is important, I think, in my life as I get older.
And it's beautiful you say that, because it's actually good to have that experience, play sports, go to school, live that corporate life to really build that structure. So then when you go into doing things that you want to do, it just trickles down. It's easy.
Agreed.
It's like, bam, I got to do this, I got to do that.
And that's what life, is all about. It's a journey. I think we all live a few chapters in our lives, and I think it's important to be able to take from those past experiences the good and the bad. But being able to use those experiences to be a better person every day is something that I'm big on. I just try to be better than I was yesterday every day.
I mean, that's the whole point. So the next question is, what are some of the life struggles you've had? And I think you kind of hit on some of them, but if you can go a little more depth into that.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about, growing up in a household that was economically not stable. That was definitely a big struggle early in life. But also being biracial was a struggle, I think. In a Black urban community, finding my identity was different than a lot of my peers. I had biracial friends as well, but I think as a child, like, you don't understand the society you're born into. You're just born into it, right? And you hear a lot about what it is to be Black and what it is to be Hispanic or white and what it should be. But you won't realize who you are until you live it, right? Until you live that experience. And you kind of value exactly who you are more so than who you should be, right? And I think growing up in Queens was awesome because I was able to see that everyone doesn't look like me and everyone doesn't sound like me, but I have so much in common with these people,
Right.
all right? And they're not that different from me. Just, you know, I went to a high school, there was like 60 different languages spoken.
That's
And
a lot.
I think that was a culture shock for me. My middle school was like 99% black, but my high school being like that really opened my eyes to what the rest of the world is. And I think taught me that we are a lot more similar than different.
Yes, and it's interesting you say that because the only thing that we're different is our experiences, the things we go through that kind of shape us to be different. But
Most
the foundation, same.
It's the same. We bleed the same blood, you know. If I needed a heart transplant tomorrow, I wouldn't care what color that person was, right? So why should I treat them any different?
And that's how the world has to be. So being that you went through these, you know, these situations as a child, and even to this day, what did you learn to, you know, overcome or learn how to live with it?
You know, I think, you know, as far as growing up without money, I think overcoming that was really just getting to work, you know, understanding that, you know, people aspire to be rich and wealthy, to have like material things, and I think it's very easy as a child to think those things, but what you really want is stability. You want a home, you want food, you want clothes, you want these things to be things that you are not worried about. And I think growing up in a situation where you are literally worried about those things,
Right.
I appreciate the fact that I have a beautiful apartment in Hollywood, and my bills are paid every month on time.
Right.
And, you know, my credit cards are paid, and I think that is something I hold so much more value in than a 21-year-old Michael would have.
Right.
And I think as far as, you know, identity, I think, you know, as I age, I just kind of accepted who I am a lot more so than, you know, trying to be someone that I'm not.
Right.
And I think it leads a more fulfilling life when people get the genuine version of who you are. You know, you gravitate to those people a lot more. And anytime someone is kind of putting on a facade, which you will see in LA, right?
We've seen that too many times.
It's just not attractive, and it's not someone you want to be around. And it's like you're only fooling yourself if you think people don't pick that up.
That's true. My next question is, I wanted to ask you, what are some of the daily struggles that are holding you back from your fullest potential?
You know, I'm like a lot of people in that consistency is key. And I think I'm learning that the more consistent I am, the better I'm doing myself, right? I think it's easy to get out of a good pattern that you're building. You know, if you're building good habits, you know, for example, if you're working out every day in the morning, you know, and that's something that works for you, the minute you break that pattern, you're only hurting yourself. And being consistent is something that translates to all aspects of life. When it comes to work, working out, relationships, consistency, you know, just showing up is half the battle. You don't realize that until you show up every day. And, you know, every day you're not going to want to show up. Some days you're going to be tired, you don't want to go to the gym. It's also important not to beat yourself up if you don't, but staying consistent just means that you're holding yourself to a high enough standard to do right by yourself and continue on doing the things that you're supposed to do, that you know you need to do. And I think, you know, that's a daily thing that only makes you a better person.
So what are you doing to be able to maintain that consistency?
So, you know, working out is one of those things that, especially this past month, since the gyms have opened up in LA, I've been consistently waking up early, going straight to the gym. I also like to get a good stretch in before and kind of meditate. Stretching, meditating allowed me to kind of get in my head and clear any negativity, kind of focus on, you know, the rest of the day after the workout, and have a center of mind that's peaceful. So that's just the beginning of the day. And then, you know, after the workout, you come home, you have a protein shake and get to work. You know, and each day is different. So today is submitting for auditions, but maybe tomorrow is a class that I'm working on or a script that I have to read. I'm writing more now too. So
Beautiful.
that's something else that I want to be more consistent with and write more. And also kind of scouting where I want to do my next stand-up show, you know, and also reaching out to people that are in that industry that I built relationships with and cultivating those relationships and, you know, making sure that by 8 o'clock, I'm tired. That's really what it is.
It's like Ray Lewis says, you know, if you're not tired until you feel like you have to go lay in the bed and you can't move.
Exactly.
So it's like,
and how much better is sleep when you're tired, right?
You won't wake up.
You don't.
Until the time you're supposed to get up.
Exactly.
Based off of all the stuff that you've been through and where you are now, what's your outlook on life?
Man, staying humble, staying positive, staying focused. Those are, you know, three things I think are big outlooks on my life. But inspiring people, inspiring kids like me is something that really resonates with me. Specifically where I'm from, I want to give back to my community in a way that I wasn't able to take advantage of.
Right.
You know, I personally love to open up a recreational center in my hood, like in Cambria Heights, where kids can do their homework, they can play basketball, they can learn a skill set, they can learn how to code, things that weren't offered to me, you know, at that same point in my life. And it doesn't have to be the same old thing. It doesn't have to be basketball or rap music. It can be painting, sculpting. It can be math work, you know. Just being able to have those windows early in life allow you to explore other lanes, you know what I'm saying?
And I think it's important to do that because then it reflects, you know, the type of person you are, where you are, being able to help people, you know, that weren't being able to mentally do the things that you did without the help. Because, you know, there's very few people that are willing to do that because people just condition their minds and kind of stay where they are.
And we need that. We need that help. I don't forget about the first coach I ever had or the first drama teacher who inspired me. You know, I don't forget those people because they were supposed to be there in my life, right? And I want to be that person for someone else because it's an effect that I hope continues, you know, to make us all better people, especially someone who's, you know, growing up in a world where they don't have that outlook, you know, and no one's allowing them the opportunity to grow. A lot of times in neighborhoods where I'm from, you kind of, you know, you fall in the cycles and the traps that are in front of you too easily because people don't tell you, like, you know, you don't have to do these things. You don't have to act like this is all there is to offer.
So then the next question is, what's your ultimate goal in life?
To inspire, you know, just to piggyback on what we were just talking about, just be an inspiration to people who not only like me, but not like me. You know, allowing people to understand that inspiration can be a lot of things, but a lot of times it could just be you being you, and showing other people that you know, there are possibilities that you couldn't even imagine.
That's true.
You know, even sitting here with you on this couch in LA is a blessing because I know so many people in places right now they don't want to be doing things they don't want to do, and because they have to do it, and because that's you know, so that's a blessing in itself, doing things that you want to do, right?
And it's crazy you say that because you and I are very similar when it comes to that background. You know, we both grew up without our father. We both were in the corporate world, and we just was like, fuck it, I don't want to do this anymore.
I see a big wave of people kind of leaving industries that weren't necessarily for them. But that's life, you know. I think, like I said earlier, we live a lot of chapters, and I think it's important to take all the best parts of those experiences and make them the reason why the next chapter is better.
Right. So my last and final question is, if you were to give someone advice that looks like you or that has been through the same situations as you, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to keep going. I would tell them that it's worth it to keep going, keep pushing. You know, anything worth having in this life is worth working hard for. And you know, to any little boy or girl that looks like me, you know, you are not alone, and things get better, and you reap what you sow, so keep going.
Thank you, Mike. Make sure you follow him on social media.
The Mike Browning on IG.
And thanks for everyone for watching. Please leave any questions, comments down below, and follow the next episode. Thanks.
My guy.
I just want you to know you are not alone.